My name is Gianni Russo, a.k.a. Carlo, the infamous son-in-law from The Godfather. I'm now known as the Hollywood Godfather, and this is my story.
Before all of the wins in my portfolio, I was a little boy diagnosed with polio. Experimenting with cures, I tried every one. Felt everything in my right, but my left was numb. Walking with a limp, like will I ever run? Once again, or is this it? Am I forever done? Living in the hospital was never fun. Some people were cool, but not everyone. You never know who you're lying in a room with. So I broke a broomstick in half and let it groove with the concrete in the bathroom floor. It had a new tip, stashed it behind the toilet in case I ever had to use it. Cause one day Dolores had a chat with me. Said she got word someone was coming after me. My heart started beating rapidly. I looked in front of me and back of me. Who thinks
My name is Gianni Russo, a.k.a. Carlo, the infamous son-in-law from The Godfather. I'm now known as the Hollywood Godfather, and this is my story.
Before all of the wins in my portfolio, I was a little boy diagnosed with polio.
Welcome, everybody. It's time for another Hollywood Godfather podcast. We have a great guest, a major surprise. And before we get into that, Pat has a couple of updates that he'd like to inform us about.
Yes, last episode we were speaking about doing a show on The Sixth Family, which is our newest book. And we invited the audience to send us questions. So I'm just going to reiterate that. We plan on doing the show sometime in March. So if you have any questions on the book, if you've read it, send them, we'll answer them. And those of you who haven't bought it yet, we're giving you plenty of time to buy it and read it. So we're figuring the show is going to be on sometime, probably the second week in March. So get your questions in and we'll be happy to answer them. Okay, that was my bicentennial minute. You're up.
There you go. Can we have a drum roll, please? This lady is a star, an iconic relative, somebody that the world, and I've had the privilege of meeting so early on and through the years, well, which we'll get into. Donna Presley, my darling, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Gianni?
Well, it's a pleasure having you on the show.
Well,
and
thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I've heard so much about you.
Well, it's amazing how you came through Dubai and Switzerland to get here with my godchild Hendrik. I love it.
Yes. He told me, I talked to him this morning. He said to be sure and give you his love.
No, he's a great kid.
Yeah.
If I may say something, Donna, you have a radiant smile. You just woke me up.
Thank you. Well, thank you.
Okay. Well,
Southern girl. You know how those Southern girls are.
I heard rumors.
The thing, Donna, that I've been thinking about since we knew you were coming on, and we just spoke briefly, is that you grew up with this guy. You knew him. I'm talking about Elvis, obviously, to our audience. Mm-hmm. You knew him before anybody, he was a star or anything else. And I met him early on. I met him actually with Frank Sinatra. Mm-hmm. And a good friend of mine invited me down to the Fontainebleau, 1961, to do the NBC special with Sinatra hosting, Welcome Elvis Back. Mm-hmm. And that was my first, I knew of him, obviously, but to meet the guy, he's such a regular guy.
Yes, he was. Super nice guy, just down to earth and sweet and kind and such a gentleman. Great guy.
Now, did you know him growing up as a cousin? You know, you had holidays with him and all that?
Yes, we did. From the time I was 10 years old, I spent all my summers in Graceland.
Oh, and wow.
Then, yeah. And then when I was about 14, 15 years old, Elvis called me and my mom and my dad into the dining room. And he said, Aunt Nash, Uncle Earl, we really love having Donnie, which is what he called me because he had a nickname for everybody. We really love having Donnie here. And, I'm on the road a lot and it'd mean so much to Dodger, our grandmother, if she lived here. So, we want her to move in. You can see her whenever you want. Come visit her. I'll buy her a car. I'll send her to school when she graduates from high school. I'll get her into whatever she wants to get into. And I'm sitting there going, yes, 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 you know, in my mind. And my mom goes, no. And he said, but Aunt Nash, you know, I'll take care of her. She said, honey, I know you take care of her. I know you love her and everything will be fine, but she's my little girl and she's going home with me. So I went home. But when I was 17, Elvis bought the Circle G Ranch. And he asked my dad to go to work for him on the Circle G. And so, you know, overseeing both properties. So we lived on the Circle G for 2 years until Elvis decided to sell it. And then he moved us onto the grounds of Graceland. And I lived there until I moved out on my own. And then my mom and dad lived there until they opened the house to the public in 1982.
Wow. So at 10, I mean, that's interesting. So you met him as a star.
Oh, yes. He had been a star since I was 4 years old.
Oh, okay. So that's, I thought you had some little tidbits of him falling off his bike or something. And, or wetting
well,
his
actually,
pants
my
at
mom
school.
wrote a book about that. So I do, yes.
Well, so you must have been so affected by him because I knew, I mean, I was already, he did me a big favor. Most people don't know that.
Really?
And, oh, yeah. When they were, Kirk Corcoran's a friend of mine, and we had mutual friends that knew Elvis, obviously. And I'm thinking I'm talking about the July of 69 when they opened the Hilton Hotel.
Yes.
And he was following Streisand in. Streisand did 2 weeks. And that's when they were doing 2 shows a night.
Right.
And then Elvis was coming in. And nobody realized prior to everything, you know, that I met him down in, you know, the Fontainebleau, and he remembered me, which I was shocked. But the thing that I was just opened a club called Tiffany's at the Tropicana Hotel.
Yes.
So I said, Elvis, if I send a car for you, a bunch of our friends, some you knew, like Dr. Elias Ghanem, and they were all coming over.
Right.
And he was going to be there every, you know, and it was great for him because he liked going places where he had some security. And I was open till 6 a.m. So you could wander over anytime you wanted. We sent a car, but unbeknownst to him, and it's the first time I think anybody's hearing this, and I think it's funny that I'm telling his cousin, as soon as he got there, my PBX operators got on the phone, this was the Tropicana Hotel, telling all the cabs, Ace cabs, you won't believe who's at Tiffany's, Elvis. The place was, we had lines outside until 6 a.m. trying to get in. But we treated him like gold. We didn't exploit him in any way other than saying he was there. And we had security, the hotel security actually, guarded him off. And he loved coming there. And
awesome.
Then I surprised him one night, which he couldn't figure out how he did it. You know, he loved those peanut butter and banana sandwiches.
Yes, he did. Absolutely.
I thought it was I went with him one night. We flew up to San Francisco. He wanted to go to that one diner he used to go to. And that's how I met the guy. And a friend of mine who up there arranged for me to get them all down in the afternoon on a flight. And we served them that night in the club. I didn't like them at all. I mean, I like peanut butter, but I mean, it's, you know, it's like, I don't know, it's so filling and I don't know, but he loved them. But
yes,
we served them one night as a special. Everybody went crazy. And they were all, you know, that was before cell phones. You can imagine if it was cell phones, everybody be eating them and posting them all over the world.
Right.
But so you must have had some unique stories living in Graceland.
Oh, always. I mean, it was when Elvis was at home, we called it controlled chaos because you never knew what was going to happen next. You know, he was always doing something, always staying busy. And when he wanted to do something, everybody had to go with him. You know, he would go to the fairgrounds there and at, you know, after it closed at night and run it till morning hours, or he'd go to the theaters and everybody went with him to the theaters and skating. And he loved fireworks out in the backyard. And so they would shoot fireworks at each other, Roman candles. He liked living on the edge.
Talking about shooting, Gianni has a great story.
Oh, really?
About they reenacted a Western shootout in a hotel room. Tell that story, Gianni.
Well, yeah, you know, he loved, obviously, he got that Gold Cup 45 when he got mustered out. And he loved watching Westerns.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So we're up at Sweet 3000,
Mm-hmm.
which thank God we were on the top floor and nobody else could die. And there was no other rooms on each side of us. So all of a sudden we're watching this Western and he gets up, gets his gun, and he rolls over the couch. And we're on, you know, it was a big U-shaped couch, like a lot of couches,
Yes,
watching TV.
Uh-huh.
And we're having a shootout with real guns. But he didn't realize I had a gun too. And a couple of my friends had guns. So we shot that place up. I mean, it was,
Oh my goodness.
But fortunately, we were, you know, not drunk and nobody got killed, which could have
Right.
happened.
Thank goodness.
And he had so much fun laughing. You loved, you know, he was like a giggle, a laugh.
Yes, yes, absolutely. He loved a good time, and it was just it didn't have to be anything fantastic or wild, but yes, he loved having a good time. And
Yeah, I
made
mean,
sure everybody else did too.
Oh, I know, and it's so crazy. I'm saying to myself, I mean, I've done some outrageous things, but to have the opportunity to say I had a shootout with Elvis Presley.
That's pretty, yeah, as Henrik would say, that's epic.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's actually a chapter in our book, Donna.
Did you read our books yet? Any of our books?
No, I haven't, but I have been listening to some of your podcasts, but I am going to get your book because
text, we'll send
so
it
much
to you.
about you.
Yeah,
Okay.
Donna, I will send you the books.
Perfect.
Please,
Great.
please.
And I'll send you mine. I've got four
Right.
myself.
Yeah, we'd love it. We'll have you back on, talk about your book.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's he was such a unique guy. And the thing that really, and I'm sure and you're growing up with him and seeing his change in weight and all of that, and how his Memphis Mafia didn't take care of him, man. I had a real strong conversation because I knew Alice Ghanem really well.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and that, for our audience that don't know that, he was one of Elvis's doctors.
Correct.
And was on property. His office was right behind the Hilton Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
But I just, you know, I just felt that I'm around guys all the time, and if they saw me doing something wrong, and if they really love me, they would stop it. But they were encouraging it and getting prescriptions in their names.
I know.
How did you feel? I mean, this has got to be a sensitive question to you, but how do you feel about when that happened and you knew that was happening?
Well, it's Elvis was Elvis, and he did what he was going to do, you know, irregardless. Everybody tried to you know, be of help to him and so forth, but Elvis always needed a challenge, always. And
I got that impression.
Yeah, always needed always needed a challenge. And you know, I think it's like with most stars that he struggled to decide who he wanted to be and who he thought he had to be.
Yeah.
You know, to be Elvis.
He should have just been Elvis.
Yeah.
You know, his shows I watched.
Phenomenal as Elvis, yes. And you know, everybody knows the legend, the superstar, and there's not a greater star that's ever walked across the stage. But there's never been a finer, greater, more warm, loving, and tender and genuine man to walk the stage of life either. So,
Donna, would you say that he had a difficult time handling his fame?
well, I think with most people, yes. I mean, it's very difficult, as he once said himself, to, you know, the man's one thing, the legend's something else. And he was just Elvis. He loved having a good time. He loved his family. He kept us all close. And the reason he kept us all close is because not only because he loved us, but because we helped keep him grounded. And that's something that everybody needs. You know, you need people around you that love you, and that no matter whether you're Elvis Presley or just Elvis, right, and that will always be there for you.
And will tell you.
The sad thing is, I'm sorry.
Tell you the truth.
Yeah, I tell you the truth. And you know, family did that. So, but you know, there are other elements that are outside the family's purview. You know, and you can't always control everything.
Sure.
How was your feelings towards Colonel Parker?
I only met the gentleman twice.
Really?
Yeah, and
That's
because I mean, I was at Graceland,
Right.
and I didn't go to California or Vegas or anything with him.
Oh, I
But
see.
so I only met him twice, but he was very boisterous, very loud, and I didn't particularly care for him.
Yeah.
To be perfectly
I've met
honest.
him several times. I actually gambled with him at
Oh,
the
he was known for that.
Yeah, he loved to gamble. But I just wanted to pick his brain,
Yeah.
because he was Colonel Parker.
Yeah.
And
Do you feel?
I'm sorry, go ahead, Pat.
I'm sorry. Do you feel that Colonel Parker was taking advantage of Elvis?
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Yeah, absolutely.
Pat, you
And
know the
what-
deal they had, right?
I'm sorry?
Do you know the handshake, the deal they had, Pat?
It's something like 75% of his money went to
50% of everything.
how much?
50%. 50%.
50.
50. Wow.
Yeah.
On a
Yep.
handshake.
On a handshake. And Elvis, and everybody told him you could get, I don't want to get out, man. Shook man's hand. Look me, he made me a star. That's what he said.
So this was not renegotiable.
Not in
Oh.
Elvis's mind. Elvis was very
Elvis is
loyal.
mine.
Elvis was an extremely loyal man, and to his own detriment. And unfortunately, I guess all the Presleys have that trait, that we just are completely loyal until it's to the point where there's nothing else you can do. And I do believe that Elvis was getting ready to dismiss the Colonel and get a lot of the negative things in his life away from him. But unfortunately, he died before he was able to do that.
Yeah.
And who expected him to die at 42?
No, it's amazing to me. And so generous with stuff. He's giving out stud Batcat cars. That's what he gave you for Christmas.
He gave away cars, money, houses, jewelry.
And he had that lightning.
Yeah, TCB with the lightning bolt.
Yeah.
For the guys.
That was
TLC
his
for
big
the
thing.
girls.
TLC for the girls.
Yeah.
And it was, and they're solid gold. These are not
Yeah.
toys.
Oh yeah. The real thing.
It's been said that you can ask anybody that was around then, that knows when what they were doing when JFK died, for example. And you'd be surprised how many people you ask, and they'll know exactly what they were doing when they got the news of Elvis's passing. I know where I was.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
Everybody, because it was Elvis touched so many millions of lives, and in such positive and great ways. And when you're able to do that, then it's they hold you in your heart forever. And so when something happens like that, then it's a major catastrophe. I'll get it out in a minute. For everybody, because it's he touched them. And he still is 45 years after his death.
I know.
And there are people, celebrities in our lives who you think, and it's a fantasy, but you think these people are never going to die, and Elvis was one of them.
Yes,
he was just permanently there. I don't know.
He was larger than life. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if people heard it, but in the last few hours, Raquel Welch passed away.
Oh, really?
She passed away a couple of hours ago, 82 years old. And she was somebody else who you always envisioned as her 30-year-old self. Mm-hmm. And she was going to be around forever. And she just died. Yeah, she died this afternoon.
I didn't know that.
I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't know that.
She married one of my friends that we talked about on television, Richie Palmer, Mulberry Street Pizza in California. He married her. He was married to her.
Okay, yeah.
Long time. But he married a lot of celebrities. But Raquel, I really liked. Raquel was something else, man. Great lady. I'm sorry to hear that she died. My God.
Yeah, after the proverbial short illness, and I didn't tell you what it was, but she passed away.
82. That's scary. I'm getting so close to those ages.
It's just a number. It's just a number.
I know. Oh, yeah. It's just a number till the number's not going any further.
Well, I promised my kids I would live at least to be at least 100.
There you go.
That's what I'm betting on that right now. I just turned 80 in December. But
really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well.
Yeah.
I'm on my way. To you.
Yeah. December 12th, me and Sinatra would share it. So it was great.
Cool.
Well, let's, I mean, touching on morbid things,
Mhm.
what do you think of your cousin dying the way she did, and almost on television?
Lisa
She was on
Marie.
television
I
the night
know.
before.
I mean, I was so shocked. I actually was in Austria when she passed away, and I just left the stage when my manager, my best friend, called me to let me know that she had passed away. I didn't know anything about it, and I mean, it's like Elvis, young and full of life. I mean, I know she'd had a rough couple of years, for the loss of her son, but I mean, she was moving forward and doing, great things with her life. And to lose her at such a young age is just awful. I mean, it's really left a hole in all of our hearts. And when she passed away, I found out about it. It brings up all the people that you've lost in your life, like Elvis and my family, that
Oh,
I've
yeah.
lost. And it brings all that back too. So it makes it doubly hard.
I apologize for bringing it up, but I mean, it
No,
was,
no. It's a fact of life, and it's a part of who we are and what we have to deal with. And
Yep.
she also left a legacy, and that's something that I feel like is my job to continue, is the legacy that Elvis and my family and that Lisa Marie left.
so you just said something. I'm very, just on the sly. I was just leaving stage. You perform?
Yes.
Oh, could you exploit that a little bit? We see you?
Well, actually, yeah, I travel around the world. I sing, and I also tell about stories about Elvis and the family, and tell the audiences about people, about Elvis, and let them know what he was like and what our family was like, and just to kind of get out there and touch their hearts and bring Elvis and the family into their homes and into their hearts, because so many people, and I travel mostly in Europe. So many people.
Elvis was so big in Europe. He was everywhere, but Elvis. That's one thing I found about the Europeans.
Yeah.
They treasure stars bigger than us. We're so callous. We see so many.
Yeah.
But Europeans, if you're a star that big,
yes,
you'll live forever.
Oh yeah. I mean, I get letters, and when I go and travel and talk to these people, they tell me about how he affected their life in some form or another. And, how great is that, to a man that's been gone 45 years and he's still touching lives? Because
he's dead longer than he was alive right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And, when you can touch somebody's life like that, yeah, it just carries on forever. And what a great legacy. And I feel like it's a legacy that's been left to me to continue to do.
Well, we're going to go for a commercial now, but after we come back, we'd like to hear your take on the Elvis movie.
Okay.
Well, Gianni, take it away.
We'll be right back. And remember, don't leave. We know where you live. Today's show is being sponsored by Corleone Fine Italian Food Products. This sponsor really means a lot to me. Corleone Fine Italian has taken the heart and soul of the Godfather films and created a line of food products that include pasta sauce, balsamic vinegar from Modena, Italy, Genco extra virgin olive oil from Sicily. They created delicious pasta sauces, marinade, tomato basil, arrabbiato, and my favorite, Clemenza's meat sauce. You will be amazed. You will think your grandmother made the sauce herself. CorleoneFineItalian.com. That's CorleoneFineItalian.com. All right, we're back.
Okay. We left talking about, or going to start to talk about, the Elvis movie that won all kinds of acclaim, particularly the person who played Elvis.
Yeah.
What did you think of it, Donna? Did you see it?
I did see the movie. I did. Austin Butler did an absolutely amazing job.
Yeah, didn't he? Yeah.
Elvis. Kudos to him, and every award that he's won, he deserves greatly. The premise of the movie was based on Elvis and the Colonel's relationship. And for that part's true. They did have this stormy kind of relationship, and the Colonel was very overpowering and overbearing, and just kept Elvis working all the time, and never let Elvis really do a lot of the things he wanted to do, like go to Europe and go into serious acting and things like that. He always came up with another idea for him to keep him in the States, and doing what he wanted him to do. But however, and this is a big however, people in the movie that were portrayed like Uncle Vernon, Elvis's dad, that was so far from who he was. It's not even anything close to him. Elvis, Uncle Vernon was a very strong-willed, powerful man, and loved Elvis with all of his heart and did everything he could to make things better and easier for Elvis. But they portrayed him as being a very weak, spineless man that only cared about money. And that was completely untrue. And then there were other people that were in the movie that were portrayed as more important in Elvis's life than they actually were. So for that, I didn't like it.
So that's important because there's someone's portraying me right now in a TV series, and we got a problem with it. But the thing is that you being so close to this, I haven't seen the movie yet, and I'm sure a lot of our audiences haven't yet.
Mm-hmm.
So in that particular thing about your uncle,
Mm-hmm.
they made him not the personality that you knew him as.
No, not at all. I mean, completely different. I mean, it was like they're not even close to each other. Not at all.
The accolades Tom Hanks is getting, though, is amazing.
Tom Hanks did an amazing job. Austin Butler did an amazing job. But it was just the way that that certain people were portrayed in the film that was completely wrong. And so for that, I didn't like it.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on Tom Hanks's portrayal. Either I had too many martinis when I was watching this movie, or he was speaking with an Italian accent. Am I wrong?
Well, he was speaking in some kind of accent.
It was an Italian accent.
Yeah.
Well, he was trying to be Southern, but he didn't get it right.
It didn't work.
Which is shocking because
it is shocking.
Yeah. I mean,
he's the best dialect coaches in the world.
Yeah, he's one of our preeminent actors. And I'm saying he's gonna break out into an Italian opera any second now. But he was good. I mean, he's Tom Hanks.
He was good. He was. He did a good job. He did.
I mean, I don't know who else could have done him once I saw him as the character.
Yeah. He did well, but it was just the movie itself that I didn't care for.
Well, Gianni's having a little problem with a movie that he doesn't care for.
Oh, really?
Yeah, hard to believe. I know, right, Gianni?
Well, there's a TV series out, 6 hours.
Yeah.
Called The Offer.
Uh-huh.
And there's somebody playing Gianni Russo.
Really?
It's about the making of The Godfather.
And they bastardized me to death. But
do you know the first thing that Henrik said to me after I met him is, "Have you heard of Gianni Russo?" I said,
"Oh, he loves me."
I know.
He worked with very close friends of mine.
I have heard the name, I think, but I don't really know anything about him. When he told me what you portrayed in The Godfather, then yes, of course, I knew who you were.
The guy, we should share some things about him because I love the guy. I don't think I've ever met a guy who's tougher than he is, though.
He's an amazing man and a good friend. Yeah.
I mean, his history, Pat, you wouldn't believe who he's worked for.
Well, who exactly are we talking about?
My godchild.
Oh, okay. All right.
Who lives in Europe. He worked for some very close friends of mine, and he's a marksman. He's, I don't know how many martial arts degrees he has, but unbelievable. And the nicest guy. You would never believe this guy. He'll go up on a roof and drop you at 100 yards. It's amazing.
We all need a friend like that.
Indeed.
Yeah.
The first time I went to Dubai, he arranged it.
Did he really?
I swear to God. And I was kidding. I said, I want 100,000. I ain't going. He's okay. Just like, okay. Next thing you know, I'm on a plane.
Sounds like him, yes. Just ask him and it's done.
But I know he's going to listen to the show. He lost so much when he lost his girlfriend, though. Jesus.
Yeah.
He's so drained.
It's very tragic.
And he's still mourning it for 2 years already.
I know. It's very sad.
Shame. Yeah. I mean, so with all of the accolades now you must be getting, I gotta go. I gotta see your act.
Well,
Yeah,
my manager said she'll call you.
Tell us where you'll be appearing and what your schedule is. We want to know.
Well, right now I'm scheduled to perform in Germany in May and in Italy. And then I go on a 9-day cruise and I'll be performing there as well through the Mediterranean.
Nice.
So you got a lot of footage of Elvis in your show and all that?
Well, I have some photos of Elvis that were taken that I show on the big screen. And then, of course, in September, I go to London. But right now, we're still firming up some dates. So, but those are confirmed.
Good. Thank you. And you sing his music also?
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
It's just as a tribute, you know.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, I do tributes to so many people. I that's all I do before, you know, to Sinatra and, well, so many people. Even Elvis, I do an Elvis tune in my show.
Oh, I'd love to hear that.
Wise men say. No, great show. No, because he impressed me so much. I was like 16, 17.
Uh-huh.
This was during the Kennedy election.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And some people invited me to go down there on 61, obviously.
Right.
He was bigger than life.
Oh, yeah, always.
And treated me so well. And then he couldn't understand. Wait a minute. He's saying, wait a minute. He saw this guy, that guy. He said, who are you? I said, no, well, you don't want to know that. This is before The Godfather, obviously. I didn't do nothing, you know. But he saw me with Meyer Lansky. He said, like, it was fun. It's really fun. And do you have, are you married? Do you have children?
I'm not married. I've been single for a number of years. I do have children. I have 2 sons and 6 grandkids.
Oh, God bless. That's great.
Yeah.
And they all live in Atlanta and where you live?
Well, I live in Arkansas.
But
yeah, they all live in Arkansas. They sure do. Very close to me.
That's great. God bless. So, Pat, what else, pal?
I don't know. I'm just fascinated by all this. I couldn't imagine myself being around Elvis a lot, even if he's a family member. I mean, he's Elvis. You know?
Yeah.
But you know, that's the thing about it, is it was just Elvis to us, and he was so much fun and just a jokester and so loving and tender and caring. And I'll tell you a quick story just to tell you how protective he was. When I was 19, I was engaged. Stupid, I know, very young, but I was engaged to this guy. And so I took him over to Graceland to meet our grandmother, and Elvis was at home. And he and I were sitting out in the jungle room, and Elvis walked out, and he walked over and he kissed me on the forehead and asked me how I was doing and said, you know, who's this? And I said, this is my fiance. And Elvis said, your fiance? Like, okay. And I said, yes. And so he said, stuck out his hand. He said, I'm Elvis Presley, and, you know, shook his hand and said, so when are you and Donnie getting married? And he was trying to be funny, but it didn't work too well. He said,
the guy ran out.
no, he said, when she can support me into the style which I've grown accustomed.
Good answer.
Whoa.
He meant it as a joke,
Course,
but I saw this muscle here twitching in Elvis's
Oh,
jaw.
yeah. I've seen
And
that.
I thought, this is not going to end well.
No. I'm so I'd pull his 45 out.
Yeah.
It accidentally went off.
Guns on him.
Oh, I know. Believe me.
But anyway, he said, okay, Donnie, I'll see you later.
How stupid is this guy to say that anybody's cousin? I don't care if it's Elvis or not.
Right? So he walks, he said, Donnie, I'll see you later. And I said, okay. So he walks into my grandmother's room. And the next morning, I get a phone call. Come to Graceland. Okay. I knew what it was about. So I was walking slowly, believe me. And I got to the Graceland and I walked in my grandmother's room. And Elvis didn't come downstairs because he figured that when she told me what she was going to tell me, that I would probably get upset, and he didn't want to see that. So he told her, he said, you tell her I will not allow her to marry this guy. No way, no how. I don't care what I have to do. No way is she going to marry this guy. So, yeah. So I figured he was smarter than I was, so I broke up with him.
There you go.
Let me ask you a question. Could you paint a picture of what this guy looked like? I'm curious. And don't say he's Italian, I hope.
You know what? Somebody asked me earlier, said, well, where is he now? And I said, I don't know. And they said, well, did Elvis have him removed? I said, no, I'm
That's
sure
a polite
not.
way of putting it.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't put it past him.
Yes. Did he expire like a library card, or is he still,
Yeah.
or is he still with us? We don't know.
No, I have no idea. I haven't seen him since.
That is wild. I mean, and what do you think of the memorial? I only saw it on television. They got it ready so fast.
For Lisa.
With Felicia
Yeah,
Marie.
Lisa. And
I
don't know why they had to mention that they moved her son. I mean, news people are so crazy and rude. Who cares? He moved his son a foot. I mean,
yeah, I know. It's what's the point? But I thought it was beautiful. They did a great job, and it was lovely, and a great tribute to her. So
now, does the family run that? Or Graceland that was leased out? You hear all kinds of rumors about it.
The house, Graceland, and everything in it, and Elvis's personal property belonged to Lisa Marie. Elvis set it up that way. And then when she passed away, it was to go to her children. And so she has 3 daughters now. There's Riley, who's 33. She's an actress. And then she has 2 teenage daughters that are 14, I think. And so it goes to them. But actually, Elvis Presley Enterprises owns the intellectual properties and so forth.
Right.
And so they run it.
And that's a private entity, not with family members?
No, it's not. No family members. Mm-mm.
But I guess you subsidize the family with the income, I'm sure, they get from it.
Lisa got the income from it, and
right.
her daughters will get it now.
Yeah, you heard so many stories and nobody really knew. Mm-hmm. And I hope I didn't put you on the spot, but at least you clarified that to me. The house still is, or yours. No, that's great. Oh.
No, you didn't put me on the spot. It's fine.
All right. You're such a nice lady. We should send us your book or tell us how to get it.
I promise you, I will. Yeah, text me your address and I'll send them to you.
Well,
I've got 4.
My compadre here does it all. No, we'll bring it back on about the book.
Yeah, since we have you here, I mean, we have 50,000 people listening to the show. Sell some books, Donna.
What's the name of the book?
Well, the latest one is one that my mother did. And she was 9 years old when Elvis was born and lived next door to him. So the book actually takes you from the day of Elvis's birth until after his death. And then when my mother passed away, I took the book and I recently had it republished and I added stories of my own. So now it has my stories as well as my mother's stories. And it's One Flower While I Live.
What is it?
One Flower While I Live.
Who's the publisher?
It was self-published.
Okay, it's on Amazon?
Yeah, no, you can get it at on my website. It's www.donnapresleycollection. The DonnaPresleyCollection.com.
It's got to be your manager's right. Everything's got to be right. Unless you ain't getting that up on anyone's.
Exactly.
She's
sitting here.
I just love the way you say www.
Oh, no, I mean.
Hey, I come from the Lower East Side of Manhattan. I don't hear www too often.
Well, that's why I'm trying to translate everything she's saying. It's like a foreign language to me.
Very impressive. Love that accent.
No, it's great.
Thank you.
No, you're a very impressive woman. Thank you for coming on our show.
Absolutely.
It's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed every minute. It was great to meet you both.
Okay, after we're off the air, text me your mailing address and I'll send you the 2 books.
Perfect. Sure will.
Okay. Thank you so much for the show. You a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it. It's been fun.
You got to come back on. We got to talk about
anytime.
All right. Well, great. Thank you. And we're going to go to commercial break and we're going to do some mailbag.
We are pleased to announce the publication of a new book series from Gianni Russo and Patrick Piccarelli entitled The Sixth Family. when the alleged daughter of Marilyn Monroe asks for help, Gianni Russo becomes entangled in a web of lies and violence in the search for the late actress's diary. Soon, he is enmeshed in a mystery that involves a presidential candidate, a disgruntled mafia capo, a retired NYPD detective, and the past of mafia boss Frank Costello. Russo must race against the clock to stop a hostile reorganization of the American mafia while trying to stay one step ahead of a faceless killer. While listening to this book, skillfully read by Gianni himself, the listener will have to determine what is true and what is fiction. Or as Gianni says before this epic story begins, this book is a work of fiction, except for the parts that are true. Look out for the second installment of this exciting new series coming in 2023, The Sixth Family. Book 1 is available now on Amazon.com.
All right, we're back for the mailbag.
Mailbag, yes.
Favorite. I think it is the favorite, maybe.
Yeah, that's because we don't have to rehearse anything. We don't do anything. We just sit back and read. In other words, we're very lazy, is what he's trying to say.
That is for sure.
But we do like this because we get to have a back and forth with our listeners. Okay, this is from Michael. Michael says, sorry, I can't find the episode. But they did an episode of The Blacklist where the government finds out about encrypted cell phones and tries to use them in a sting, but someone tips off the criminals about it. From what I remember, it was either season 7 or 8. Well, that wasn't a question, but I guess he's referring to the show we did on the guy who made encrypted cell phones and sold them to every terrorist organization, underworld, and whatever. In fact, I believe that comes on today.
I was going to say that the show isn't even up. How do you get the question?
This guy is.
What, you got a crystal ball? Or we being bugged again?
Maybe. We got to watch what we say. But anyway,
I'm sitting here saying, how did the guy get the question to show it up there?
Drop until Wednesday. This guy knows something we don't know. But anyway, he's referring to an episode of The Blacklist, which I watched that show, the first episode when it came on. It's gone through like 7 seasons. It's been on forever. And it was so, to me, the premise was so ridiculous that was the end of it. But apparently it switched gears to something that became a very big television. You ever watch it?
You know what's so funny? We're both talking about it right now. Yeah. And that's where our Megan, her aunt, works. She's his assistant.
Oh, really?
Okay. That's her job now. She gets a
now she's a former assistant because the show just went off the air.
Oh, they didn't renew?
Well, no, they had the last episode. The series is over.
Well, they say that every year, and then it comes back.
No, it's over.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I think there's 1 or 2 episodes left. Always try to come out on top. The show is still a hit.
Oh, no, yeah. I was talking to Steve Sharippa the other day, and they're up for renewal and for the 14th season.
This is you're talking about Blue Bloods.
Blue Bloods, yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess it's the advertising revenue. That's how they do it. But I don't think that show was going to go anywhere.
I've watched it. I've seen every episode of Blue Bloods, and one of the reasons I like it, I mean, I was a cop for so many years, and every time I see a cop show, I generally turn it off, or I criticize it if I can't turn it off because it's somebody else's television. But the hook in Blue Bloods is the family dynamic.
Yeah, I love it.
If they didn't have that, the show would have been a failure. I know I wouldn't have watched it. But it's just a family dynamic. At the end of the show, there's always the Sunday dinner or Sunday sauces, we call it. But they're Irish. I don't know what they call it. They probably call it dinner. I mean, anyway, it's a great show. Steve does a great job in that show. I mean,
oh my God, yeah.
He's getting more screen time as the years go on.
Well, his character, they loved the fact that they go between the daughter and him. So it gives a different dynamic.
Yeah, no, he's very good. He's developed into a very good actor. Okay. From Tommy, a fellow podcaster of Before the Lights, in which Gianni was kind enough to be a recent guest, a resident of Las Vegas, and have seen Gianni's new show. I want to say thank you for all you do. I have a suggestion to hear a show about Tom Hanley and his crazy son, Granby, if Gianni knows about them. Do you know who we're talking about here, Gianni?
No.
Tom Hanley.
No.
Granley?
No.
Oh, no, his son is Granby, Gramby. Tom was a mob hitman. This is the father. It has been said that he's been linked to over 20 murders, and that includes culinary union boss Al Bramlett.
Oh, this culinary, that was in Vegas. That was huge. I didn't know who the hitman was now.
Well, now we know. Well, this guy was suspected of it. This might be show worthy. I could do a little research into it, particularly if you're familiar with the hit.
I'm definitely, because what's ironic, we should save it for the show. I met a couple of people in Chicago because the culinary union was headed out of that, but the biggest membership was in Nevada. Imagine all the hotels. Everybody had to be in the culinary union. And Al Bramlett was, my memory serves me right, Al Bramlett was found at McCarran Airport in his car, shot to death. And he was the head. Yep. Yeah. He was the head of the culinary.
We don't want to let too much out.
Please.
I'll do some research on it. Tommy, thank you very much for the idea. I'm definitely going to look into it, because this is a big deal. I mean, you kill the head of a union.
Oh no, this guy was huge.
What year was this?
Well, I met him during me running around trying to organize votes for Costello and Tony Accardo and all of them for Senator John F. Kennedy to become president.
So that's
how far back it goes.
Okay, well, we'll see what I can find. I'm sure there's something on it.
Oh, it's huge. I know it is.
Okay, this is from Christy. Dear Gianni and Patrick, thank you for the opportunity to reach out. I found you during COVID, searching Marilyn Monroe on YouTube. I'm writing a serious request to you, Gianni, as I feel you are a friend from what I have listened to. I've listened to you speak on the social platform. I grew up in Indiana, about 20 miles east of Notre Dame, South Bend, and I lived in several states, now in Michigan. My sister also has a Hollywood connection, and she's married to a famous person who she doesn't name. Anyway, I would like to speak to you on the phone about this. I don't want to put it in a message. I also like Gianni. She has a book, wants to write a story, she wants help writing a book. Thank you in advance for consideration. Anyway, somebody wants to talk to you, and we'll talk about that later. Okay. Gary says, Gianni, looks like you've led a pretty interesting life so far. You talk about understatements.
He thinks so. So far, I have. Okay.
But so far it could get a lot more interesting. Apparently.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, I graduated Newtown in '67. That's the high school I went to. I don't remember having known you. I grew up in Middle Village. Well, you don't know me because I spent.
You, Pat.
Yeah.
You. Oh, I was going to say I never was there. What's he talking about?
No. Yeah, I went to Newtown High School, and the reason he doesn't know me is because I spent one semester there before they, well, how shall I put this? Asked me to leave. I wasn't a very. I was a wild child. I know, hard to believe, but that's why nobody knows me. I was supposed to have graduated in '64 if I would have stayed there, but I didn't. I was a bit of a hellion. That's a word you don't hear much anymore. Anyway, there's no question there either. We got to come. Oh, this is a long one. From Karen. Love the podcast. I've been a listener from the beginning. Were you guys aware that there was a very rare book called The Godfather Journal, written by Ira Zuckerman, who wrote notes on the Godfather set? You familiar with this guy?
Oh yeah, I know the guy actually. Well, okay. He collaborated. If my memory serves me right, I have it, and it became that book was like $1,500, and it was all the notes on the pages that Coppola was making while he was shooting it.
So this was commercially published or privately?
Yeah, commercially. That was huge.
Why is it worth $1,500? Because it's rare?
Well, it's a big coffee table book. There's another Godfather book out too for $1,000. Yeah. I have people give them to me. I don't know why I want them. I just like having them. There's a lot of great photographs. Yeah, but they're coffee table books.
Yeah. Okay. It goes on to say that this guy, Ira Zuckerman, was given a grant by the American Film Institute to record what he saw. I have a PDF, but did not attach it. As you have previously commented, you do not read emails with attachments. Yeah, we don't open attachments. I'm happy to send it to you if you would like to read it. Well, Karen, Gianni already has the book, but she goes on to say, anyway, Gianni's in the book, and it confirms that he indeed suffered a rib injury as well as a chipped elbow during the fight scene with James Caan. Unfortunately, the student did not record the scene with Talia Shire that has caused such a recent upset. There are a lot of interesting details beyond that. Regards,
wow. He's talking about the offer.
She must be talking. Yes, this is a woman. She must be talking about the offer. Anyway, she says, P.S. Please consider doing a show about the mafia involvement in Cuba, particularly Frank Costello Sinatra, and of course Gianni's first-hand experiences. Well, we mentioned Cuba in the past. I don't know.
Oh my God, no,
many times. So, if you're just listening to the show from the beginning, we never devoted a show to Cuba, but we've mentioned Cuba enough times to make up several shows.
You can cut it together and have 90-minute movie, I think.
Yeah, at least. All right. Hi, Gianni. This is from Courtney. I was wondering if you spent any time with Louis Prima, and also, why didn't he become part of the Rat Pack? It's a good question.
Well, I know why all of that. Hello.
Well,
he was bigger than them before they got together. Louis Prima and McKeely Smith and the Witnesses, he was huge.
Sam Butera and the Witnesses. So it was the guy on the sax.
Yep.
I mean, I saw him in Vegas twice. And did he do any shows except in a lounge?
No, their deal at the Sands Hotel, they were locked into that deal. They headlined it other places, but in Vegas, and everybody used to go there. The sun would come up; they'd still be on stage.
This guy did 8 shows a night.
I know. I mean, he didn't know not to do them. How about I know Rolly DeOrio, who was the bass player? I know everybody by name in that group.
I was so impressed with Louis Prima. I still have a lot of his records.
Now,
those of you who don't know who we're talking about, go on YouTube. There are videos of him alone, him with Sam Butera, him with Keely Smith. Keely Smith played the straight person in it. She had no expression, no emotions, and this was part of the act. And she was like his foil. I tell you, a great show. You can sit there. I think the lounge show was about an hour. And after the show, I said, this guy's going to have a stroke.
No, I know. And jump around. I mean, they were crazy.
Man.
And you know what's interesting? His son now, Louis Prima Jr., is on the road doing his father's act.
How is he? He can't duplicate what his dad did he? Could he?
I've never seen it, but he's very successful. But, I find it interesting because who's alive that remembers his father that would want to go to a club and see him? I mean, he was so unique.
Yeah, but he died in the 70s. Louis Prima died in the 70s.
I know that, yeah.
And that was rather sudden, too. He just one day wasn't there anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have time for one more. Okay, this is from James, from me. Patrick, I read former NYPD Chief William Bratt. Well, he wasn't the chief. But NYPD doesn't have chiefs. They have commissioners that head the department. A chief, for those of you who care, and if you don't, I'm going to tell you anyway. A chief is somebody who stays in uniform and runs a police department. A police commissioner is a civilian, not in uniform.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, this is, in fact,
I know a lot of them.
Subject, but I'm going to get up to subject anyway. When Blue Bloods came on the air, every now and then, Tom Selleck, who plays the commissioner, would be seen in uniform. And this was annoying me. So I wrote them a letter, and I told them what I just told you. Police commissioners do not wear to civilians. They don't wear uniforms.
But I thought when they went to funerals and stuff like that, they got dressed in armor.
No, well, you can wear a uniform anytime, any place you want, as long as you're not doing with intent to defraud or whatever. But I've never seen a police commissioner, even the ones who came up through the ranks, like Kelly. Kelly came up through the ranks. He was my sergeant, the 2-3 precinct in East Harlem. How many funerals did this guy go to? He always go in civilian clothes. Nobody was uniformed. But anyway, I sent an email to the show, and it took a while, but they answered back, and they said,
really?
Yeah, they really weren't aware of it. And a couple of shows, I don't know how many shows they have in the can, but after like a month or two, he would never be in uniform anymore. I was wondering if I had anything to do with that.
Well, it sounded like it.
I don't know. Anyway, Bill Bratton's book called Turnaround, How America's Top Cop Reversed the Crime Epidemic, which Bill Bratton did, by the way. He wasn't yanking anybody's chain. He turned New York City around. Anyway, which I enjoyed and found informing. So I bought Bernard Carrick's memoir. There's another guy that was the police commissioner, for my library, but have not had a chance to read it yet because I thought he continued the same policies. But I heard you have strong opinions against Carrick. And can you elaborate on that? Well, I can't speak to his job as a police commissioner, but I'll tell you how he got the job. He was Rudy Giuliani's chauffeur. That's it. And he made a police commissioner.
Let him know he was not a chauffeur. He was in uniform being the chauffeur.
No, he was a chauffeur.
He was a civil?
He drove him around.
Civilian guy?
Yeah. Before he was commissioner, he was just a civilian chauffeur. That's all he was.
And he went into the police department, and then all of a sudden became.
He wasn't in the police department at all. He was a correction officer. And
how did he get this job?
Because he was Giuliani's chauffeur. Giuliani liked him. But I can't see whether he did a good job or a bad job. I was off the job by then, so I can't say anything one way or the other. But what he did was, and this was a high insult to every cop in the police department, after 9/11, the city designated an apartment, and there's a high-rise housing around there, not project, but nice apartment buildings that they designated for people who were working on the pile after the planes hit the towers, that they would go there, they could shower and do what they wanted to do. Carrick brings his mistress to those apartments and put her in one of the apartments. I don't want to mention her name, and we don't have to go through that, but he was taking a test.
We don't need any negative things here.
He got, there's certain things you don't do. And I mean, at a time when our city was hurting, he put some bimbo in his apartment and got caught at doing it. The wind up with Bernie Carrick was he had some work done on his house.
Oh, I remember this guy now. Short guy.
Yeah,
he just got caught taking like payola. People working on his house.
No. He got caught using a mob-connected construction company who did a renovation on his house.
But nothing.
Well, for cost. What should have cost a lot more, they gave him a break, and he went to jail for 4 years.
Yeah.
So, I'm not a big fan.
Did he come out and try to run for something also?
Here was the mistake. Giuliani proposed him for the first head of Homeland Security.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, I remember.
And George Bush says, well, Giuliani, America's mayor, I'm going to listen to this. Well, they vet people who go for these jobs, and this, when all the scandals came out, when they started looking into him, and, Bush said, we can't have this guy. He's,
I remember that. That wasn't too long ago. 10.
Well, it was after the attack, so 20 years ago. But I don't think President Bush was too fond of Giuliani after he proposed Carrick. Giuliani knows the ropes. You're going to go for a cabinet position job. Somebody's going to open up a phone book and look you up. I mean, come on, So anyway, because he said that he was interested in the job, this working with this mob-associated construction company, that's the reason he went to jail, because his ego told him that he was going to take that job and he was going to be the first head of Homeland Security, and he wound up being a prisoner with a long number instead.
Wow.
So
that's a good way to end the show.
Yeah, that's it.
That's all, folks.
You asked the question, James. You got an answer from me.
You got the answer.
All right. Well, once again,
great show.
Yeah.
And we got to thank Donna Presley. It's a great guest to have.
Very nice. Very sweet.
She shared her family with us. It's great.
Yeah. Those of you who subscribe to our YouTube channel, you will see this with Donna on it. She's got a radiant smile. She's a very, very nice person. You heard her, now check her out when we put it up online. Also, if you haven't read The Sixth Family yet, pick it up, because when I have a show devoted to the book, and people say, well, it's a book. I mean, well, people are going to ask. Well, those of you who read it know what you're going to ask, because Gianni and I broke new ground writing this book. This is taking a real person and putting him into a fictional situation just isn't done as a protagonist, which is
a brilliant job you've done.
Thank you very much.
I'm reading.
Anyway, get your questions in. We'll be having a show on that in March. So, you have a good night, Gianni.
You too, my friend.
And that was that. But I'll be back.
Thank you for tuning in to the Hollywood Godfather podcast. You can contact Gianni Russo or Patrick Picciarelli with your questions and comments through the contact section of our website, HollywoodGodfatherPodcast.com, which is where you can also subscribe to our weekly newsletter. You can also call and leave us a message at 646-776-3038. Remember to follow us on Instagram at Hollywood Godfather and on Facebook, as well as leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We'd like to know what you like about what we're doing, what you'd like to hear in the future, and anything else you might suggest to improve our podcast. Most importantly, hit the subscribe button. We'll be back next week with stories of the mob in Hollywood, as well as answers to your messages. Good night.
My kids still can't believe I sat with a saint. My life's like scenes out of a movie. I'm the Hollywood Godfather, truly. I got stories with them all. You know, celebrities, world leaders, icons. Who knows what's next for me? I'll never get too old to have a little fun. Come on, I'm Gianni Russo, a genuine one of a kind. What a ride it's been, this life of mine. And I ain't done yet. I'll be back. Until next time.
And that was that.
When I was 17, it was a very good year. It was a very good year for small town girls and soft summer nights. We'd hide from the lights on the village green when I was 17. I didn't mind waiting